Okay, in this video, I am going to show you the top 10 places that you must see when you come here to Antalya in Turkey. If you don't see these top 10 places, you haven't seen Antalya. So make sure not to miss out. Here it goes. Before I proceed with the video, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel.
Subscribe now.
So we are here at Marmarli Plaza. And a must see thing in Antalya. One of the things you must come and see over here if you want to really enjoy your trip over here. Okay, let's continue. So you come down the steps, you've got a marvelous view. You've got places up there where you can have your meal and your tea or your drink, whatever you want to have. And it's always nice, always a lovely scene to see the harbour and to see these boats and everything like that. It's a very hot day, but it's nice, it's lovely. There's some people swimming over here, but they put some boundaries around as well. Okay, so if you come to this area, which is the harbour over here in the main old town of Antalya, you have the option of getting all of these boats over here. So they're not all the same. There's different sizes to these boats and there's different packages to them. But if you come in the morning or if you come early enough in the day, you can hop onto one of these boats. Some of them are small, some of them are big. Some of them are like a ship, so you can decide whether you want to go with a small intimate group, whether you want to go just with your family, or whether you want to go with obviously a big group. And you can also decide on the package. So some of these boats, they take you to these islands. One of the boats over here takes you to Duden Waterfall, which is very famous. And I'll be showing you Duden Waterfall. You'll see this waterfall in this video, but it's one of the key locations when you come to Antalya. And you can decide whether you're coming if you want to go on a boat ride for 1 hour, 2 hours, or even 6 hours. And the other thing that you can decide is whether you want to go on a boat where you get really nice, luxurious food, or whether you just get some normal sort of snacks. So that's up to you as well. Personally, if I'm hopping onto one of these boats, I want to go onto one which is a bit more intimate, where the music is subtle. I don't like loud music. I just think it's nonsensical for me, personally. And but you also get to see as many islands as possible as well, like over a two-hour duration. If you're coming to Antalya for the first time, or if you're coming into the south region of Turkey, where you're near the Mediterranean coast, so whether you come to Fethiye, that's also Muğla region or province, but if you come to Kaş, Kalkan, Antalya, Konyaaltti, Alanya, any of these, you must go into one of these boats at least once, because you'll get to see all these islands, you get some nice food, you get a really nice day out of it, and it costs around like £30. Okay, so you can do that by coming early in the morning and booking it with one of the tour companies. Will be in front of these boats and these ships over there. So that wouldn't be so difficult to find out. But if you don't want to go on a boat, which I highly recommend anyway, by the way, you can come over here. You have a small beach there, which is very, very small, but you can swim in an area that's surrounded by a boundary, and it's got marvelous, marvelous views over here. Okay, so welcome to the Roman harbour. Over here, when you come into the old town, it is fortified with these magnificent walls, and you have these steps that go or take you all the way up, and they're made of stone. So this place was established by King Attilos II, by whose name Antalya goes, and it was also run during the Byzantine era, the Seljuk era, and then eventually the Ottoman era as well. And so it's a very historical place. It's been around over here for something like 1800 years. Okay, so we reached Hadrian's Gate, which is called Hadrian Kapısı. I've waited 2 years for this date. I don't know why I've been in this area. I've been very close to this area, but I haven't made a video. So I wanted to share this with you, and I'm really excited to be over here. So let's look at this wonderful historical place that you must come and see when you're in Antalya. It's one of the must-see places. So I don't know why I haven't made a video so far, even though I live in Antalya, but today's the day to show you guys. Hadrian's Gate is a triumphal arch located in Antalya, Turkey, which was built in the name of the Roman Emperor Hadrian, who visited the city in the year 130 CE. It is the only remaining entrance gate in the walls that surround the city and harbour. So the Queen of Sheba, also known as Queen Belkis, passed under these very gates in order to meet Suleiman alayhis salam, or King Solomon. And this is a local legend. So if this is true, this would have been 1,000 years before Hadrian would have passed through these gates, which is very interesting, and it's a part of history that isn't really mentioned so much, especially if you watch other videos. So I wanted to share that with you. Now, Suleiman alayhis salam, King Solomon, was one of the 4 individuals that in the history of the entire world had full sovereignty over the entire globe. And he was among the 2 out of the 4 that ruled with immense amount of justice. Okay, so you see these grooves over here. It's possible that the chariots during the Roman times would have crossed through here so many times, on so many multiple occasions that you can't count, that it's left an everlasting marks of the grooves that you see over here on the floor. So you have to mention these things. And so you have to be a little bit careful when you're walking there, because you might, stumble or something. So it's an interesting part of history, but also you want to keep careful as well. So if you look all the way up there, you'll find that there's these lions that have been carved onto the stone up there. And it looks majestic, if I be honest with you. It looks really majestic. Obviously, lions, it symbolizes something majestic. So having that on there, incredible, especially when you consider how many years, how many centuries this has been around for. It's being right in the center of history by coming into a place like this. So I want to stress this and emphasize this. It's very, very important. Çok muhimdir that you all come over here. Çok önemli that you come over here. Okay? So we are waiting for the nostalgic trams that will be taking us to our next destination. Now, if you go to the east side, it will take you all the way to Lara Beach. But we're waiting for the west tram, and that one will take you all the way to Konyaaltti Beach. So it's between 2 really famous beaches here in Antalya. So right now, you can see behind me, it would have been one of the points in the videos, that you must see, but it's renovating. It is the Saat Kulesi. It's like a clock tower. So it's under renovation, but it's a good reference point for you to know where to get this if you're not so sure where to get this from. And this is Kaleici, which is the heart of the city center. And a fun fact for you guys is that these nostalgic trams were gifted by Germany in the 1970s. So you'll need an Antalya cart, similar to Istanbul cart and other cities in Turkey. And I will be making a video on how to use the Antalya cart. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure you subscribe so that you get to see that as well, which will be coming up very soon. You've got to have one of these if you're coming onto this. It takes you can use this in both trams. The Yivliminare Mosque, which is also known as the Aladdin Mosque or Grand Mosque, was built in 1230 during the reign of Seljuk Sultan Aladdin Keykubat I. The mosque's fluted minaret was decorated with blue tiles and is considered to be a symbol of the city.
The Jami is part of a complex which includes a madrasa, Dervish Lodge and tombs.
Okay, so we are here at Yivliminare Cami. So this masjid was built during the Seljuk era in the year 1230. And this Jami was also reconstructed a second time in the year 1373 as well. So this Jami has a fluted minaret, which was constructed, and this Jami also was constructed by Sultan Alauddin Keykubat. Again, you would have seen him in Dervish Ertuğrul, a very, very famous Seljuk sultan. So the fluted minaret, when it was initially built, had the Seljuk blue turquoise tiles that was covering it around. But you won't be able to see that today because over the centuries it's withered away. Another cool thing about this Jami is that it's, when you come inside, it's all built with stone. So although it's a really hot day outside, I've been here for like an hour now, and they turned off the AC, but you feel this natural cooling effect. So you don't feel the scorching heat that is outside of this masjid. It feels really nice and cool, which is, again, this is something that people of old would do really well. They would always find ways to tackle harsh weather conditions, whether it's, you know, on the hot side or on the really cool side. So behind me is Konyaaltti Beach. This is one of the best beaches in the whole of Turkey. And I've heard about this beach for the last 2 years that I've been over here. And I've not got the chance to come here because for some reason, whenever I look at the maps, it used to show me that from the main part of Antalya that I've shown you in this video, or I'm going to show you in this video, that this is 2 hours away. But it's not really 2 hours away. It's like 10-15 minutes away from Murat Pasha, where we get the red tram from. And it's really easy to get here. There's a stop over here called Musi, and you just stop here, and it's just, once you come out, you just see it. So the beach is here. Obviously, you have to go a bit down to get there. We're a little bit up, but it's definitely one of the best beaches in the country. We get a wonderful view from the top. So when you stop at Musi, you'll get to see it right from the top. You've got cafes over here, and you've got the museum, which we are going to show you in this video, opposite this. So a lot of the things that you need to see is in this place. When you come off of Musi, you get to see the museum, you get to see Konyaaltti Beach, and you can access a lot of restaurants and cafes over here. So if you're in Antalya, you can either go to Lara Beach, the red tram will take you there, or you can come over here, which is Konyaaltti, which is very famous. You can also come over here as well.
The Antalya Archaeology Museum is one of the largest museums in Turkey and exhibits thousands of ancient artifacts that were discovered in this region. The museum is easily accessible by taking the nostalgic tram to the Musi stop in Konyaaltti. Here you can find prehistoric objects, ancient coins, Roman imperial statues, and a mosaics hall. I found the marble statues of emperors and empresses discovered in the ancient city of Perge the most fascinating.
Okay, so these marble statues were founded from the ancient city of Perge, which you can visit when you come here to Antalya, and it's one of the must-visit places. And there's also a picture here which is remarkable, where it shows you that when they were digging up, they were able to find these statues that have been around for 2,000-3,000 years. So these over here seem to be the 12 apostles or the 12 saints of Jesus, or as the Muslims call him, Isa alayhi salam. One of the cool things which Turkey is underrated for is that one thing is that Turkey is in the center of the world. There was some sort of measurements that were done, and they found out, according to a particular study, that this is in the center of the world. And there's no wonder why the Roman Empire, the Ottoman Empire, the Seljuks in between that were fighting for these lands, and they were here for centuries, for over 1,000 years. And even prior to the Roman Empire, there were other civilizations. And I believe from being in Turkey, looking at the history, going to various different parts of Turkey as well, like not just Antalya, but going into places like Şanlıurfa, for instance, going into the south region, especially this Constantinople, Istanbul today. Turkey is one of those nations which has deep, deep history. It perhaps is one of the few countries in the world that has the oldest history in terms of civilization. So there's no wonder why that is, when so many great empires, civilizations have fought for this land.
Perge is 18 kilometers to the east of Antalya. It is one of the most well-preserved ancient cities in Anatolia. Research in the area shows that Perge has a prehistoric past and possibly dates back to the 5th millennium BC, and the city experienced glorious days during different periods. The last glorious era of the city was in the 5th century AD during the Roman Empire.
So in order to come here, you can get a tram from the main old city of Antalya. So you get a tram, it takes about 20 minutes, and you have to stop at a station called Aksu. And if you get a taxi, it takes exactly around 3 minutes to get here. So it's quite simple in that aspect. Otherwise, if you don't get a taxi, you may have to walk for about 15 minutes or something. And it's a 200 Turkish lira cost to come in. Otherwise, if you have a museum card, then it will be included within the museum card that you have.
Excavations have been conducted since 1946, and many of the impressive statues of emperors that were discovered can be found in the Antalya Archaeology Museum.
Okay, so in the year 333 BC, Alexander the Great invaded this city of Perge. And what's incredible is that the people at the time didn't show any resistance. In fact, they welcomed him. And perhaps the reason why the people didn't show any resistance was because the walls of the city wasn't so well fortified for them to prevent Alexander the Great. Now, something really interesting for Muslims is that when you look at the book Law of Lights, for instance, written by Haja Amina, it is mentioned in these great books about prophets that Zulkarnain, he was actually Alexander the Great. And Alexander the Great, or Zulkarnain, was one of the 4 individuals, 4 personalities that in the history of the world were able to have full sovereignty of the entire world. Among the 4, there are 2 personalities that are of the just kind in their leadership, in their ruling. So that's Sulaiman alayhi salam, or Prophet Solomon. The other is Alexander the Great, or Zulkarnain. So really fascinating that this place is immersed with dense history. Behind me is the entrance to the bazaars, to the markets in those days. So this is how the ancient markets would have looked like. You have to go and enter through those gates. I only imagine that there would have been some security guards there, checking whether you've got nothing that's gonna, bring some funny business into it, but they want to do the real business. So that's over there. So these pillars behind me would have formed the elaborate entrance to the major public buildings at the time. right, so behind me is the stadium, the amphitheater, and I really wanted to go there, but we got here a little bit late and it's just closed. So it's behind me and I get a glimpse of it. It's a wonderful city. I could have come here. Maybe I could have made it if I rushed in there 10 minutes earlier, but there's so much to see in the main area that we've shown you that you do need to see it properly to really give it justice as to how incredible this city was and is even now today when you go and see it.
The heart of the old town is known as Kaleici, and you can spend hours here wandering the narrow cobbled streets. It is easy to find Kaleici as the starting point is the Saat Kulesi, or clock tower, which was built during the reign of Ottoman Sultan Abdulhamid II. There are many famous tourist sites to visit in the old town, including the Seljuk era, Yivliminare Cami, the Ethnography Museum, and the Dervish Lodge Museum. There are also many Ottoman-era houses in Kaleici, which have been converted into hotels, restaurants, and souvenir shops. Walk down to the base of Kaleici and you'll find yourself in the ancient Roman harbour.
But what I like about the old town and this bazaar over here is just the streets, and like you have these traditional looking lights or lamps, and it's just nice to look at. And I think it's among Turkey's best ones in terms of bazaars that you can actually come and see. Right behind me, you can see the marina just there. So that gives you like a reference point as to where to come to, how close it is from the marina. So it's it's walking distance. It's very easy for you to come over here. You also have these types of spices here. You have different types of teas that you can get, like Turkish teas as well. Different types of souvenirs if you want to get that. Great appeals of coming here to the old town is that you'll find these homes that are Ottoman style, and they've been converted to boutiques, hotels as well, some of them into cafes. So that really, it's more of an experience. Like you can buy stuff from anywhere. You can go to like local markets, to malls, whatever, shopping centers. But it's the experience because you're walking through these narrow valleys. You've got these beautiful Ottoman designed homes. And also you've got I'm going to show you this. Just give me a moment. So look at this one. This is one of the tablecloths over here. So you get very unique, very interesting designs. So you've got this dervish on it with a horse, with some really powerful symbols. And it's so nicely done. Like you're not going to find this in many places in the world. I have a huge fascination with carpets. I really like the idea to have a carpet that's been hand sewed and taken some years to make it as well. So this is one of the areas in this entire old town where you can get carpets or rugs. So you want to 100% check this out if you want to really decorate your house in a style that is a little bit more old style, but your house will look really enhanced at the end of it. Look at that, magnificent designs. Outstanding. Look at the patterns.
Bu adam benim babam, 8 köşe kasketiyle, omuzunda sakusuyla. Hey hey hey, bu adam benim babam, ağlama benim babam, ağlama açar babam, kara gün geç. Adam benim babam, derdi dağlardan büyük, çaresiz boynu bükük. Hey hey hey, bu adam benim babam. Hello.
Bu Ataman Harim. Bu enerji.
So we bought about 3 teas over here. He does Ottoman, Osmani tea,
Yeah.
and very, very delicious.
India.
Grandfather, so Pakistan, India.
Pakistan, India, yeah?
Yeah.
Macaliya cani hala güçkü şairi.
You get Ottoman tea and good singing as well.
Yeah.
So this is the Dervish Lodge of Antalya. Another great place to come and see. So let's have a look at this. Oh, you can see over here a dervish show taking place on the television over here.
The Mevlevi Lodge building located in Kaleici is one of the most popular touristic places of Antalya and belongs to the Seljuk period. Although it does not have an inscription, it is thought to have been built by Sultan Kayqubad I in the year 1255 and started to be used as a Mevlevi lodge since the 16th century.
And Sufism is a deep dive into spirituality where intense spiritual training is given by a spiritual master called a murshid. Those that are dervishes attain that teaching from their teacher, from their spiritual mentor or spiritual teacher, who is a murshid. And a murshid is someone that has gone through years and years and years of excessive training of perfecting their character. So Mevlevi, as we said, it's one of the 41 spiritual orders in the spiritual paths. So the committee of Mevlevi musicians are called mutrib. Now, these are the instruments. So there's about 6 instruments that are used usually by the Mevlevis, by the dervishes. My favorite is, or the one that you'll hear mostly, is the ney. So the ney, which is a wind instrument. And so this is what would be played over here, and then people would sit down and listen to that majestic, but that subtle music that would just invoke something from within you, where you feel this immense connection with the divine. And many times there would be poetry that would be inspired into the hearts of the spiritual masters, such as Mevlana Jalandhar Rumi. And when they would say this poetry, it would be again about the love of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also love for the divine and one's relationship with the divine. This is the Sheikh, the Murshid's room. So we spoke about the Murshid being the spiritual master, and disciples are called Murids. So if someone has some sort of problem, or they want to ask someone that has immense amount of wisdom, they have a spiritual guide that they can go to and ask them questions regarding their faith, regarding any decision that they want to make in their lives.
Mehmet Bey, who was nicknamed Chainbreaker because he managed to conquer Antalya by breaking the port chains. The tomb contains the graves of Mehmet Bey, his son, and Mustafa Dede Efendi, the Sheikh of the Antalya Mevlevi Lodge.
So there's 2 tombs that you'll find over here when you come to this Dervish Lodge. This tomb is of Zincir Kiran Mehmet Bey. So this is the first tomb, and then there's a second tomb over here that you can view. Okay, so the second tomb that you can see over here when you come to the Dervish Lodge is of Nigar Hatun, who lived between 1450 and 1503. And Nigar Hatun was the primary consort of Sultan Bayezid II. So he is the son of Sultan Mehmet Fatih, the conqueror of Istanbul.
Duden Falls is probably the most popular tourist attraction in the city. This breathtaking waterfall is located in Duden Park in the Lara district of Antalya. There are two waterfalls with the same name, the Lower and Upper Duden Falls, and they both pour from the Duden River, which is one of the largest rivers in the region. To view this waterfall, you can either take a boat ride from the harbour or go to the observation deck, which also features a cafeteria where you can try traditional Turkish coffee. I went during the spring season, but if you go during the summer season, you would not have to wear a jacket like I had to.
I'm personally surprised by how amazing this waterfall is, because whenever I looked at it in photos and videos, I had this imagination that it's going to be a bit smaller than what I see it to be. Although you see one waterfall over here, it's of high quality. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wow, that puts you into a euphoric state.